The PlayHQ public site is home to all your fixtures, ladders, and results for all competitions. To access the public site, use any web browser on any device and head to playhq.com. It's here that you can search for a club or an association. Select the organisation to view their contact information, register for a competition or program, as well as view the relevant competition fixtures, ladders, and results. It is important to note that the MyCricket app will continue to be the primary community cricket destination for fixtures, ladders, results, statistics, and historical data. Participants can use the PlayCricket website to find clubs and programs to register to. You can directly search for a club if you already know the club you want to play for, or you can follow the Find a Program wizard. This would be used for those that might be new to cricket. Once a participant has found a club or program they wish to register to, they will be taken to the respective club registration page that has all the registration form links. Once you click on the appropriate registration link, you will be transferred over to PlayHQ. For the best registration experience, Cricket Australia recommends that you create both your PlayHQ account and your Cricket ID account before starting your first ever registration with PlayHQ. To get started with your registration, first log in to your PlayHQ account. Participants can move through the registration form entering all fields. If this is your first ever registration in PlayHQ, you will be asked to link your Cricket ID. We will cover off how to access your Cricket ID shortly. The last step of the registration will be to pay the national registration fee and any subsequent club fees. Submit your registration. You will be able to complete registrations, permits, and transfers at additional clubs in separate registration flows via their registration links. These can be found on PlayCricket by searching the club again, or the club can provide you the registration link directly. Linking a Cricket ID to your PlayHQ account is an integral step during the registration process in PlayHQ. Linking a Cricket ID to your PlayHQ account is an integral step during the registration process in PlayHQ. A Cricket ID is the unique identifier that allows Australian cricket to provide each individual with tailored experiences when engaging with our game at all levels. Additionally, it has particular importance as we transition from MyCricket to PlayHQ, as this will be the mechanism used to combine each player's historical data. At this point, it is important to note that a Cricket ID is not a MyCricket ID. If a participant is a member of the Australian cricket family, have a Cricket Live account, or has previously registered through the coaching app, it's likely they already have a Cricket ID. If anyone has issues with Cricket ID, please go to Cricket Australia's customer support team, who will be more than happy to help out. Please note, participants only need to link a Cricket ID during their first registration on PlayHQ. All subsequent registrations will remember the participant's Cricket ID. Leading into the season, Cricket Australia will send an email to all participants without a Cricket ID, prompting them to create an ID to make the registration process in PlayHQ smoother. We will also send reminder emails to all participants who currently do possess a Cricket ID, so that they have their ID handy for when they register through PlayHQ. To create a Cricket ID, you start by going to the website cricketid.cricket.com.au. Then select Create ID. If you have a Cricket ID already, simply select the login option and enter your login information, or log in via Facebook, Google, or Apple accounts. For those that don't have login information, select Sign Up at the bottom of this screen. Make sure you fill in all the mandatory fields on the form, read through the terms and conditions, and select Create Cricket ID. This will prompt a verification code to be sent to the email address you used on the sign-up form. Locate the code and enter it into the field provided. Select Continue. You have now created a Cricket ID. The 2022-23 season saw the introduction of the National Registration Fee, also known as the NRF, across Premier and Community cricket. As part of the move to online registration for all players, Cricket Australia streamlined and aggregated the national costs of participation into a single national registration fee. This fee includes the existing insurance costs that were previously paid individually by players at the junior level or through team fees charged to the club for seniors. Both players and clubs will be covered by this national program. As part of this contribution, fill-in players will also be fully covered in case of injury for one game. The NRF also covers a digital services contribution to support ongoing improvements to technology experiences for all clubs and participants. Just one example of an improved experience is the integration with Officials HQ, where a captain receives an email prompt after a game to fill in the umpire's report. There is also a PlayHQ component to the NRF. This allows enhancements to continue to drop in the system, creating a future-proof platform for cricket. The cost breakdown for the NRF is: juniors under 18 at September 1st will pay $16. Seniors 18 and above at September 1st will pay $22.50. The price of the registration fee will be based on the participant's age, not the competition they are registering to. A junior will only attract the small fee, even if they are playing senior cricket. These prices are locked until 2025. Given that a lot of coaches, team managers and volunteers are unpaid roles, they will not be charged the NRF, but will still be covered by the national policy. The NRF will be charged at the point of your first registration of every year, covering you for all summer and winter competitions that are completed within 12 months. You will not be charged the NRF for secondary registrations unless the competition dates exceed the 12-month coverage, at which point the system will prompt you to pay the NRF again to ensure you are fully covered. Here are a couple of scenarios to better explain how this timing works. Steve is going to play across 2 different competitions in different seasons. He registers on April 1st and the competition finishes in August. Steve then goes ahead and registers for his summer competition, which is scheduled to finish in March the next year. As this falls within 12 months, Steve will only have to pay the NRF once. In Amanda's scenario, she registers and pays the NRF on April 1st. Her winter competition also finishes in August. She then registers for the summer competition, which is scheduled to finish in May next year. Amanda will be prompted to pay the NRF for both registrations as the summer competition extends over her 12-month insurance cover. Once a participant has created a PlayHQ account, they can manage their profile and update their own details. These details cannot be updated by an association or club and need to be updated by the participant themselves. To manage your profile, log into PlayHQ and select your name in the top right-hand corner and My Account. From here, a participant can update personal details such as their address, phone number, and email address. They can also view any of their registration history and any active memberships. The only details a participant is not able to edit are their first name, surname, and date of birth. To update any of these details, the participant will need to contact their relevant customer support team. To update any details, select Edit and update the relevant fields. To update an email address, select Change Email and enter the new email address. Once the new email address is entered, a verification code will be sent to the new email address. Enter the verification code and select Save. This will also update the login email address used for the PlayHQ account. Participants are also able to edit the privacy settings of their account. If a participant does not want their name to be listed in any teams or their playing statistics to be visible on any public site, they can set themselves to hidden. To do this, scroll down to Privacy Settings and select Edit. From here, a participant can select Hidden to remove themselves from public sites. Select Save to update your privacy settings. When Hidden is selected, a player will be shown as private player on all public sites. Again, this setting cannot be managed by associations or clubs and must be managed by the participants themselves. A participant can update this setting at any stage by logging into their PlayHQ account. When using PlayHQ, the main menu can be found on the left-hand side of the screen. This menu allows you to easily navigate between different parts of the platform. During your setup and this session, you will likely spend most of your time in the competition management section. Throughout the season, you will frequently use the game day section of the platform. As we progress through this session, we will cover each of these areas in more detail, including transfers, reports, and My Organisation. If you need to return to a previous section, simply navigate back to the left-hand side. Additionally, you will notice the Update section at the bottom of the page. By clicking here, you can view any recently released features and important notes. From this section, you can also navigate to the PlayHQ support site. Navigate to My Organisation from the main menu on the left-hand side and down to Overview. Everything entered on this page will be visible on the PlayHQ public site and the Cricket Australia Play Cricket site. First, upload your association logo. For best results, follow the instructions on the screen. Next, you can enter a description of your association, including the contact details for your association. You have the option to enter a phone number, email address, and a website if applicable. Select Visible on Discovery Maps to ensure participants can search for your organisation on all public sites. Enter your association address, including latitude and longitude. Your latitude and longitude can be found on Google Maps. Select which formats are offered at your association. These formats are set up by Cricket Australia and will flow through to the Play Cricket website. Next, enter any age and gender-specific information, as well as any inclusion categories your association caters for. Last step is to enter your association's terms and conditions. Once you have set up your terms and conditions, you will have the option to add these into any registration forms you set up. When participants register, they will be required to agree to your terms and conditions. Any other organisation involved in a registration will also be able to add their terms and conditions, such as a club or your state or national body. You have the option to copy and paste your terms and conditions into a text box, or you can link to your terms and conditions on a web page. Select Update and Save once you have finalised your organisation's overview. Next, you can add in your organisation contact details. Select Contacts along the top. Click in the text field and enter the details of your contacts, selecting positions from the drop-down list. To add additional contacts, select Add Contact. You can use the eye in the visibility column to determine whether these contacts are visible on public sites. To hide a contact from the public, click the eye icon. The icon will be greyed out with a line through it when a contact is hidden. We encourage all organisations to keep their contacts up to date as administrator roles change from year to year. Organisations have the ability to turn on email notifications for registrations and transfer and permit requests. Select the Notifications tab, enter an email address and select Add. The email address entered will appear below and you can toggle on the notifications you would like to receive. Programs and competitions will trigger an email for every registration to your organisation if toggled on. Transfers and permits will trigger an email for every transfer and permit created, either inbound or outbound for your organisation. The transfer and permit notifications ensure your organisation is aware of all player movements. When the toggle is green, notifications will be turned on. You can add multiple email addresses and turn notifications on under each of the headings. Select Update and Save to save any changes made. To set up your payment details, navigate to My Organisation, Overview and Payments. Select Submit Payment Details. Enter your organisation's details, including whether your organisation is registered for GST, and ABN details if relevant. Next, enter your nominated bank account. Double-check these details once you have entered to ensure your funds are distributed to the correct bank account. Enter the details of an authorised representative at your organisation. This could be your treasurer or a member of your committee. Upload photo identification for this representative. This can be either a driver's licence or passport. You will need to upload both the back and front of your driver's licence if you select this ID option. The last step is to agree to the Stripe and PlayHQ terms and conditions. Once finished, select Submit in the top right-hand corner, and these details will be sent to Stripe to activate your payment gateway. Once submitted, you can set up registration fees and sell merchandise within PlayHQ. To connect your Mailchimp, navigate to Settings, General, and across to Integrations. From here, select Connect. Next, select Log in to Mailchimp. This will redirect you to Mailchimp, and you will need to enter your Mailchimp account login details. You will then need to select Allow to authorize the connection between PlayHQ and Mailchimp. You will be directed back to PlayHQ to finalize the connection. The last thing you need to do is select PlayHQ from the primary audience drop-down box and select Save and Submit up in the top right-hand corner. You will get a notification to say that the connection has been successful, and the sync status will update to active once the sync is finalized. The sync between Mailchimp and PlayHQ will occur every night at midnight, and any new registrations to your organization will automatically flow through to your Mailchimp account. Navigate to My Organisation and then Admins. Select Invite New Admin. Enter the details of the administrator you would like to invite. We recommend using personal email addresses rather than generic association or club email addresses. From the drop-down, select which role type you would like the administrator to have. Association Full Access and Association Affiliate Admins have access to all features and functionality of PlayHQ. Affiliate admins can also navigate to a club's instance of PlayHQ, allowing tasks to be carried out as if they were a full access club admin. The association affiliate admin access level is only available for some sports. Full access club admins are responsible for managing registrations, payments, and tasks such as team entry. Last is electronic scoring admins, who have access to the electronic scoring portal. This role type will be covered off in later training sessions. Select Invite Admin in the top right-hand corner. An invite will be sent to the email address listed. To revoke administrator access or to resend an invitation, select Edit next to the administrator's name and select the appropriate action. To start using government vouchers, go to Settings and then the General section of the PlayHQ admin portal. Vouchers are turned off by default. Activate only if your organisation is approved by the relevant state or territory organisation that manages the government voucher program. To activate, toggle on under the relevant headings for your organisation. Competitions are created by the association and typically have a fixture. Shared programs are created by national and state sporting bodies and shared down to associations and clubs to deliver these programs. Local programs are simply created and delivered by an association or club. Vouchers are only able to be applied when participants register to the activities that have a toggle turned on. Once toggled on, select Update and Save and confirm you would like to update your government voucher settings. Participants will now be able to apply government vouchers when registering to your organisation. In the Report section, you will be able to download a report to view who has used a government voucher. Check with your relevant state or territory for the process on how to claim these funds. create a competition, select Competition Management, add competition, and select the competition format. The majority of cricket competitions will be home and away. In a home and away competition, each team nominates a home venue, and when fixtures are created, games are allocated to these venues. Domestic competitions are when games are all played at a centralised venue, and tournament-style competitions are generally smaller in duration and contain pools. For today's session, we will focus on home and away competitions. Enter the name of your competition, for example, junior or senior competition. You do not need to include the season name at this point, as each competition contains multiple seasons and we will complete this step later. Select the most appropriate format for your competition. To ensure that people can see your competition's fixtures and results on public sites, ensure Visible is selected. However, during the setup phase, you may want to keep the competition as hidden. You have the option to turn new player approval on and select whether you will allow clubs to approve new players. If enabled, the new player approval allows for all new players at an association to be made pending until reviewed and approved by an association or club administrator. A pending player cannot be added to a team. Only once a participant is approved, they become active and can be added to a team. Players are deemed to be new if this is their first registration to competition-based cricket. Once you have completed this page, select Next in the top right-hand corner. Next, you enter your game and grade default settings. These settings will apply to all grades you create within your competition. We recommend selecting the settings which will apply to the majority of your grades. When it is time to create your grades, you can update each of these settings at the grade level. For example, an A grade competition may have very different rules compared to your other grades. We will now create these settings for each of your game types: 2020, 1 day, and 2 day plus games. If your competition does not use one or more of these game types, that's fine. You can quickly proceed by selecting Next in the top right-hand corner. You can also come back and edit these settings at any stage. You will see lots of settings with toggle buttons within the game and grade default pages. To update any of these settings, just select the toggle. When the setting is turned on, the toggle will be green. We will start with 2 day game settings. Select the number of playing days from the drop-down box and select the game slot time per day. This will help you with fixturing, as it will block out the amount of time selected at a particular venue. If you have a compulsory closed limit, toggle this setting on and you will be asked to set the number of overs. Select the max batter allowed per innings. This setting will ensure that when a scorecard is completed, only the number of batters selected here can be added to the scorecard or the eScore device. Lineup limits allow you to set a minimum and a maximum number of players required for a game. Limits are helpful to ensure teams have the necessary number of players for a game to proceed. Use the drop-down box to adjust the minimum and maximum number of players. If teams do not meet these limits when adding players to their lineups, they will not be able to save their team selection. It may be important in 2 day cricket for you to increase the max number of players allowed in the lineup to allow for changes between days of play. Coach lineup limits work the same as your player lineup limits. Set the minimum and maximum amount of coaches required before a game can proceed. For example, it may be mandatory that all your teams have at least one coach. Again, a team's lineup cannot be saved unless the coach limits are met. Player positions can be turned on to enable clubs to assign wicket-keepers at the time they select their team. Enforcing player positions will require teams to select a wicket-keeper before they are able to save their lineup. When a player is assigned as a wicket-keeper, this will appear publicly. Next, we will enter settings which will flow through to any electronic scoring devices. This means scorers on game day will not have to enter these settings. They will automatically be applied to appropriate games. Scorers will not be able to make any updates or adjustments. Firstly, select the legal balls per over and the max balls per over. enter the maximum number of overs per bowler. Next, enter the batter settings. These are particularly important in junior cricket. Set the limit of balls batters can face or runs they can make before they are required to retire in an innings, and set the number of times they can be dismissed in an innings. Toggle on if you would like batters to automatically swap strike once a wicket is taken. Toggle on if you would like the last batter to stand. This means when the last wicket falls, the last batter can continue to bat on their own. If you would like the game to continue once the target total is reached, toggle on Continue Scoring when target total is reached. Note that player statistics, team totals, and ladders will include these additional statistics, but the game result will not change. Enter the value of a wide and if wides will count as a ball faced. If reball wides is selected, this will extend the number of balls in an over. Complete the same settings for no balls. Next, enter your ladder settings, noting this will be for 2-day plus games only. Each game type can have their own individual ladder that will feed into an overall grade ladder across all game types. Associations can choose the sport default or customize the amount of points awarded to teams for all game outcomes. To see the amount of points awarded for each outcome, select the information icon. To award a different amount of points to the sport default, select Custom and select the amount from each of the drop-down lists. When game results are entered, teams will be awarded ladder points as set out here, depending on the outcome of the game. The ladder ranking order will determine how the teams will be sorted on your ladder. The default will be set at sorting teams based on ladder points average first. If your association uses ladder points, you can select this from the drop-down menu under First Sort Order. In the subsequent sort orders, you can select from all other ladder columns. Use the checkboxes to determine which columns you would like to appear on the public ladder. If you award bonus points, toggle on either automatic, manual, or both. Enter the automatic bonus points awarded for runs and wickets based on each innings, and with no intervention required, these points will be added to the ladder at the completion of a game based on the scores entered. If manual bonus points are toggled on, it will allow the scorer or administrator to enter manual bonus points against a team at the completion of a game. You can then select the variation of bonus points a scorer or administrator could apply. Finally, select if these bonus points will apply to the overall ladder. If toggled off, they will only be applied to the 2-day ladder for a grade. Regrading configuration determines how a team's points will be managed if they are regraded. Depending on your association's rules, points from a previous grade can be carried over into a team's new grade, or they can be left behind so a team who is regraded will start from 0. The ladder visibility settings will determine whether your ladders display on the public site. It is quite common in junior grades to keep ladders hidden from the public. Again, noting we can do this for specific grades later rather than the whole competition. You can also update the visibility settings during regrading or when making ladder adjustments. Once you've completed the 2-day settings, select Next in the top right-hand corner. We will now complete the same task for 1-day games where many of the settings are the same, however the values may differ. One setting that exists in 1-day and 2020 is Super Overs. Toggle on if Super Overs are used in tied games and then select if that is for all tied games or just in finals games. As you can see, the remaining settings are the same as the 2-day games. Continue to work through the settings for 1-day and 2020 games, making the relevant changes where necessary. Remember, we can edit these settings at any stage or make changes to individual grades as required. Lastly, we will enter the grade default settings for the overall grade. Similar to how we entered the ladder ranking order for each game type, we can now do the same for the overall ladder. Associations can enter how much access clubs will have to enter results from the club access settings. In most cases, associations will grant access to clubs to enter scores, but associations do have the ability to turn this setting off. You are able to give clubs a minimum of 1 hour and a maximum of 120 hours to enter results post the game start time. After this time, games will be locked and clubs will not be able to enter results or make any changes to a game. After the lockout period, associations are able to make changes to a game, or associations do have the ability to open up access to a particular game for 24 hours if a club needs to make an edit. If a time frame for entering results is not needed, you can select End of Season from the drop-down menu. Depending on your association, clubs may have access to enter player lineups and stats for their own team or both teams. If own team is selected, clubs will not be able to make changes to the opposition lineup or enter any stats for the opposition team. The responsibility will lie with each individual team to complete these tasks. If both is selected, associations will also need to select whether clubs get access to make edits to the opposition team before or after the game start time. If associations grant access before the game, they will also need to select the amount of hours clubs will have access prior to the game start time. A maximum of 48 hours can be given. Please be aware that if access is given prior to the game starting, the opposition has access to view the other team's lineup and make changes to the lineup. If possible, it is a good idea to at least allow clubs to enter lineups for both teams once a game is finished to ensure clubs can enter all the necessary batting, bowling, and fielding statistics. Electronic scoring allows clubs to score a game in real time. If the device they are using is connected to the internet, spectators can follow along live on public sites. Clubs can be granted access to electronically score any games at their club via the setting here. Electronic scoring will be covered off in more detail in later training sessions. Lineups selected by clubs will be published on public sites. Associations have 3 options as to when these lineups will be published. In junior grades, it is quite common for more than one game to be played at the same time on the same oval. Using the ground percentage setting will ensure you do not have any fixture clashes for these games. For example, if 2 games can be played on the same oval at the same time, select 50% from the drop-down list. This may be a setting you only turn on at the time you create these junior grades. Game permits allows a club to add a player to their lineup who has not registered to their club but are registered in the season to another club. PlayHQ will check whether the player meets the criteria for the team they are being added to. Please note, unlike season permits, game permits do not require approval. This setting should be turned off if associations don't want players moving between clubs without their approval. Player points is used in a lot of senior competitions and ensures the competition is balanced, with each player being assigned a point value based on the association rules. If player points is turned on, players must be assigned a player point before they can be added to a lineup. Associations can set a player points team cap and select whether this team cap will be enforced or not. If the team cap is enforced, teams will not be able to save their player lineups if their total player points is over this cap. Associations have the ability to edit an individual team's cap if one or more teams in your competition has been given special consideration. Player points visibility determines whether an individual's player points can be viewed on public sites. If set to visible, the public will be able to view how many player points each player has been assigned. Finals eligibility gives associations the ability to determine how many games a player must play in the regular season in order to be eligible to play finals. If a player does not meet the amount of games entered, they will not be able to be added to a lineup for a finals game. Associations can give individuals player exemptions outside of this eligibility if needed. Both associations and clubs have the ability to view how many games a player has played throughout the season. Once you are happy with your settings, select Create Competition. Once you have created the competition, the next step is to add a season. To do this, select the competition and select Add Season. A drop-down list with available season names will appear. From here, select the most appropriate season and enter the start and end dates. Typically, these dates should span from the first game to the grand final. You can also enter exception dates, such as school or public holidays in which no games will be fixtured. It is possible to later edit these dates or change them for a specific grade. In the case of a home and away competition, each team will have a designated home venue. However, overflow grounds may be necessary to avoid scheduling conflicts. These additional venues can be selected from the drop-down list. Make sure that the season is set to visible so that it appears on public platforms. If necessary, set age restrictions for the competition season. For example, if it is a junior competition, you may want to restrict registration to juniors by selecting the date of birth range. Anyone outside of these age ranges would be unable to register. We also recommend setting up age groups. Age groups automatically categorise players based on their date of birth, making it easier to filter participants and allowing clubs to set registration caps based on age group. For example, clubs may only have space for 11 under 14 players. Without the association setting age groups up, clubs will not have the ability to limit these registrations. To set up age groups, select Calculate Age of Player as at date. This means the age group will be applied based on the player's date of birth at the selected date. Then select the applicable age groups for this season and choose the minimum and maximum ages. In this example, a 15-year-old would be automatically tagged as under 16. Even if a participant is tagged as an under 16, they can still be selected in other age groups if allowed by the association. Advanced ranges based on date of birth can also be set if required. Once you have completed all the steps, click on Create Season. To create a grade, select Competition Management from the menu, choose the relevant competition and season, and select Add Grade. All grades will inherit the competition default settings, but this is where you can update any specific settings for this grade. Enter the grade details including the day that this grade plays, the age group, gender, and division if applicable. The grade name will automatically populate based on the information entered. If you wish to change the grade name, click in the grade name field and type your grade name. This grade name will be displayed on public sites when viewing fixtures, ladders, and results. Select Visible to ensure this grade can be seen on public sites. You may want to keep the grade hidden throughout the setup process. Next, you can update any 2-day, 1-day, or 2020 specific game and grade settings for this grade. Be sure to make any settings adjustments for grades which have different competition rules, such as your junior grades. Update each of these pages as needed and select Next in the top right-hand corner. If your grade does not require any changes from the competition default settings, you can select Next to move through each page. Select Add Grade to complete the process. Your grade has now been created and is ready for teams to be allocated. Continue this process until all of your grades have been created. An important step is to invite clubs to participate in this season of your competition. Without completing this step, clubs will not be able to create registration forms or teams. You can choose to do this either before or after creating grades. However, if you want clubs to nominate teams into grades, it's best to set up your grades first. To invite clubs, select Registration, then Club. Before inviting clubs, make sure to add any custom fields that you'd like to ask participants or clubs about their teams when they register. For example, you may want to know the preferred game time for each team. To add a custom question, enter the question in the field label and then choose what type of answer you want. You have the choice between a text box or a drop-down. To ensure that this question is asked to clubs when they create their team, select Club under Profiles and Reports and then select Create. You can also insert custom questions onto club's participant registration forms to make sure that any participant who registers with the club answers these questions. Any custom questions added are in addition to the PlayHQ standard registration form fields. Under Participant Custom Fields, select Add Custom Question. Again, enter the question you would like in the field label. You can also make this question mandatory by ensuring that the checkbox is ticked. Select the appropriate roles for which you want this question to be asked. If you want clubs to be able to view the participants' answers to these questions, ensure Club Forms is ticked. Once you are happy with your question, select Create. You also have the option to ask a follow-up question, such as, where have you played before? To do this, make sure you toggle the conditional field to On and select the question you would like this question to follow on from. Also select the answer the participant needs to provide in order to be presented with the follow-up question. In this example, all participants who answer yes to you have played before will be also asked, where have you played? Now that you've set up your custom questions, you can invite clubs to participate in this season. To do this, go to the registration section and then select Club. Then select Set Up under the Club Management settings. Search for the clubs that you wish to invite into this current season from the drop-down box and select each one. Once you've selected each of the clubs you wish to invite, confirm which roles you will allow participants to register as when they register to their clubs. Next, enter the club team allocation dates. Within these dates, clubs will be able to allocate their teams to grades. Outside of these dates, clubs will still be able to create teams, however, they won't be able to allocate them to a grade. And of course, as the association, you will have the final say in which grade a team will be allocated, regardless of where the club has allocated that team. Club admins will not be able to edit team names outside of the allocation dates. However, if you wish to provide that access, toggle this setting on. If you have turned on player points, you can provide clubs with the ability to allocate player points to a player. If you wish to allow this, toggle Allow Club Admins to assign player points on. Once the setting is turned on, you can then also specify dates in which clubs can assign player points. Outside of these dates, clubs will not have the ability to assign player points. If this setting is not turned on, but you do have player points on, it is the association's responsibility to assign player points for each player. Under the age limit section, any age limits you've turned on in the season settings will appear. Also, any registration fees charged the participant for this competition by other organisations will be displayed. If you charge a player fee, you can enter these fees in the player fee box. If these fees differs depending on age and gender, you can toggle Set Advanced Player Registration Fees on and set a different fee for each of these demographics. To do so, select Calculate Age of Players as at date and then enter the age range and gender you wish to have a different fee amount for and enter the amount. Also enter a description of this fee. This will appear on the participant checkout. The fee a participant is charged is automatically calculated at the time of registration based on the demographics set up here. The participant will not be able to select between different fees. You also have the option to set fees for coaches, team managers, officials, and volunteers. Any fees set by your association will be automatically distributed to your nominated bank account. Any fees set by clubs or other organisations will also be charged to the participant and distributed directly into their bank accounts. If you have added terms and conditions in your organisation details, you can select if these terms and conditions will display on this registration form. If this is toggled on, participants will need to agree to these terms and conditions before proceeding with their registration. Once you've selected Save, an invitation will be sent to each of the clubs you have nominated. The next time a club logs in, they will see a notification prompt that they have been invited to this competition, and they can now accept the invitation and start creating their own registration forms and teams. Merchandise products can be created and offered to participants to purchase at the time of registration. Associations can only add merchandise to their registration forms when participants are registering directly to their organisation. Clubs also have the option to sell merchandise products when participants are registering to their organisation. To set up a product, select Merchandise and Products, select Add Product. Enter the product name and description. These will both be displayed to participants on the registration form. Products sold by associations or clubs typically include playing uniforms, equipment, accessories, and memberships. Active products can be added to registration forms. You can come in at any stage and turn the active toggle off if you no longer wish for the product to be available. Upload images of your product. For best results, follow the instructions on the screen. Products can either be a single product or contain multiple variations, such as size and/or colour. To enter variations, enter your category title, such as size, and enter the sizes available in the options field. As you enter the variations, you will see these appear below. If you have another variation, you can also enter this by selecting Add Category. In this example, we are also offering a personalised shirt as we have the ability to print names on the backs of shirts for our participants. Enter the amount of each variation and an optional stock keeping unit if applicable. Associations and clubs will need to keep track of their stock levels manually. Use the tick boxes under availability to manage which of these variations are available for purchase. If you sell out of a particular size or variation, you can come in and update this so it is no longer available for purchase. Select whether the product will be delivered out to participants or the product will need to be picked up in the fulfillment method dropdown. The last step is to create any custom fields for your product. This is a great way to capture any product customization you offer. To create a custom field, select Add Custom Field. Enter the question and select drop-down or text box for participants to provide their answer. Toggle Link to an option if this question is only relevant for a particular category. We only want this question to be asked to participants who purchase the personalised shirt. Select Create Custom Field in the top right-hand corner. Once you are happy with your product, select Save. Your product has been created and is now available to be added to your registration forms. You can manage all merchandise orders via an orders report. Vouchers can be created that provide a fee discount from the participant and/or team registration fees that apply when registering. A voucher that is created by an organisation can only discount the registration fee of the same organisation. Each voucher created generates a unique code which can be shared with the relevant participants for them to apply during their registration. To create a voucher, select My Organisation, Overview and Vouchers. Select Create a Voucher to begin. Enter a name for the voucher. This will be displayed at checkout and will appear in reports. An example of a voucher may be an early bird discount. Enter the dollar amount of the voucher and the amount of times this voucher can be used. If you're creating a voucher for a participant in a hardship situation, then you would only enter one so the code cannot be shared with others. For an early bird discount, you would enter multiple uses. The last step is to activate the voucher. A voucher has now been created and the unique code can be copied and shared with all relevant participants. You can keep track of how many times this voucher has been used on this screen or via a transaction report. You can come in and edit the voucher by increasing or decreasing the number of times it can be used or deactivate the voucher at any time. The family member discount provides a percentage discount off the player registration fee, which applies to each subsequent player registration registered under the same account holder to the same organisation and within the same competition and season. Eligible players will have the discount applied at the time of registration. Players will only receive the discount when they are registering directly to the association. An association discount will not be applied when players are registering to a club. Clubs also have the ability to set up family member discounts at their level. To set up a family member discount, select Competition Management, select the relevant competition and season, and registration. Towards the bottom of the page, select Set Up Discount within the Family Member Discount section. Toggle the status button on and enter the percentage discount you would like to apply to each subsequent registration on the same account holder. As an example, if you enter 10%, the first player will not receive a discount, but the second registration on the same account will receive a 10% discount off their registration fees. You can disable this setting at any time by turning the status toggle off. Generally, for club-based competitions, the club will be responsible for creating the team. This demonstration is showing you the process that a club will go through to create a team and allocate that team to a grade. Depending on your level of access, you may be able to complete this task for the club. However, we encourage you to ask the clubs to complete this task themselves. In this instance, we are logged in as the North Knights Club and have selected Add Team. Enter the required fields and the team name will auto-populate. The team ID is an optional field but can be used as an identifier if you have multiple teams in the same grade. The team name can be modified in the name field if the auto-populated name does not match the association's naming convention. The club will then select a home venue and ground for this team. Home games for this team will always be fixtured at the chosen ground. The custom questions created by the association will also appear for the club to complete. We can see that this team has not yet been assigned to a grade. By selecting grades along the top, we can see a green lock on the right-hand side of the screen. This green lock indicates that the club team allocation is currently open as set by the association. We can now select the Allocate a Team button to assign teams to the chosen grade. If the allocation was not open, the lock would appear in grey. In that instance, clubs can create teams, but they cannot allocate them to grades. Now, let us return to the association view. In the team section, we can see the under 14 mixed North Knights team has been created. We can also see which grade it has been allocated to. If we return to the grade screen as the association, we also have the Allocate a Team button. By selecting that, any unassigned teams would appear for us to allocate to the selected grade. In this case, there are no unassigned teams, therefore none can be selected. By selecting the arrow next to a grade, we can see all the teams assigned to that grade. As the association, if we believe a team does not belong in that grade, we can remove it by selecting the minus next to the team name. This will remove the team from the grade and the association will be able to allocate them to another grade. In most cases, especially for home and away competitions, clubs create teams. However, there may be instances where the association wants to create the team, such as an adult social team that does not belong to a club. When teams are created at the association level, clubs will not have access to view or manage these teams. While this may not be common, we will take you through the process of how to do this. From the team section, we will enter the same information we did for the club created team earlier. As we can see, this team now exists in our team list and can be allocated to a grade. Once participants start to register, they will appear in the participant list within your competition. You can search for a participant by their last name or use the filters to narrow down the list on your screen. You can also sort the way the data is displayed by using the arrow next to each of the column headings. If new player approval is turned on, all new players will appear as pending. Select View next to a participant to open up their profile. Use the tabs along the top to view suspension and incident history, the participant's membership, if applicable, and transfer and permit history. On the right-hand side, you can view a participant's personal information which they entered at the time of registration. A participant can update their own information by logging into their PlayHQ profile. To update first name, last name, or date of birth, the participant will need to contact the relevant support team. To manage a player's registration status, select the arrow next to their current registration. You have the option to approve or cancel a registration. Once a player is approved, they can be added to a team. To cancel a registration, select Cancel Registration and enter the reason. Once a registration is cancelled, the participant will be removed from any teams and will no longer be available for selection in a lineup. You can also access a participant's profile by navigating to the Participants tab from the main menu. From here, you can search for a participant using the search fields. Select View to open up the same view of a participant's profile, which we saw earlier. A participant report can also be generated to download a list of all participants into a CSV file. In a club-based competition, clubs would be responsible for allocating players to teams. If players register directly to the association, then it becomes the association's responsibility to allocate these players. If the association has used the participant to team registration form, they will not need to complete this step. To allocate players, select teams in the relevant season. Select View to open up the team and select Allocate a Player. All active participants who have registered to your competition will appear in the list. Use the filters and date of birth range to narrow down the list of participants. Select all the players and allocate players. Once players are allocated to a team, they can easily be added to a team's lineup. This process is the same for clubs when they are allocating their players to teams. Within the team page, an association can also manage the team. If player points is turned on and a team needs to have a different player points team cap to the setting for this grade, select Edit Team Player Points Limit. Enter the total points limit for this team. All club-based teams will be able to see their total points cap when they view their team. An association will also be able to manage a player's eligibility for this team. If a player has not played the required amount of games to be eligible for finals, the association has the ability to override this by selecting Edit Finals Eligibility Status. This will be covered off in later training sessions. Players who do not meet the age and gender restrictions for this grade will not be able to be added to a lineup unless given an exemption by the association. Clubs do not have the ability to give player exemptions. Select Edit Player Restriction Status. Players who do not meet the restrictions will appear down the bottom. Select Give Exemption to allow this player to play in this team. You can remove this exemption at any stage by selecting Remove Exemption. If you created a custom field for teams to enter, you can update this field by navigating to Registrations. Select the arrow to view the information entered by the team. Select Edit to update the custom field answer for this team. Custom fields for teams can be exported in a Team Entries report. Transfers and permits allow player movements between clubs and associations in PlayHQ whilst ensuring the appropriate approvals are in place from the player's original club. A transfer means a player will completely move clubs and no longer play for their previous club. A permit allows a player to play for an additional club for a selected amount of time. First, ensure your transfer and permit preference settings are correct. You can allow for both transfers and permits to either be requested by participants, club admins, or both. Participant-requested transfers and permits will allow the participant to submit the request when registering. Based on the registration history of the participant, PlayHQ will know whether they require a transfer or permit, and during the registration process, the relevant options will be presented. This differs to a club-initiated transfer or permit, which is submitted by a club administrator on behalf of the participant. Transfers and permits requested by both players and clubs need to follow the same approval process. Once you've completed these settings, select Update and Save, and we can move on to the notification settings. You can enter different email addresses to receive notifications each time a transfer and permit is submitted. You can turn these on and off at different points throughout the season. The last setting to check is the auto approval settings. As an association administrator, you will be required to approve transfers or permits that involve your association. This process can be automated by turning on certain auto approvals. This means that transfers or permits that meet the criteria will automatically be approved by your organisation and then continue through the approval process. You can toggle on or off the different auto approval options. Each has an explanation of which type of transfer or permit would automatically be approved based on the setting. For example, you may be happy for inbound transfers to proceed without approval. We will now look at what occurs during a participant-requested transfer or permit, noting that this will only appear if you have turned on participant-requested transfers or permits. If this setting is not on at this point, the participant would be presented with a message stating they need to request a transfer or permit from their club and will not be able to proceed with their registration. Once the participant selects Get Started, they will have a request to play appear. They select if they would like to request a transfer or season permit. If season permit is selected, it will be applied for the full duration of the season. Once the participant selects the appropriate option, the approval flow will start. We will now go through the process to submit a club admin requested transfer or permit. We will navigate to a club so you can see the process. However, as an association admin, there is nothing you need to do to initiate a transfer or permit. The club admin will navigate to transfers and permits. Similar to association admins, club admins can set auto approvals and notifications for transfers and permits. Clubs do not have the ability to set if player or club transfer and permit requests are on or off. This is set at the association level. To request a new transfer or season permit, the club admin will select between transfers and permits along the top. This video demonstrates a new season permit request, but the process for transfers is very similar. The club admin will enter the organisation and competition and season they are requesting the season permit for. For club-initiated season permits, the club admin will need to enter the date range they would like the season permit to be valid. Outside of these dates, players will not be able to be selected in teams where the season permit is applied. They can enter the player's details who they wish to season permit and finally review the details before selecting Submit New Season Permit Request. Both the transfer and permit we have submitted will now go through their relevant approval flows. If we go back to the association view, we can see that the transfer and permit we submitted has a status of upcoming. This means there are other organisations in the approval flow who need to approve the transfer or permit before the association. If we click on the transfer or permit, we can see exactly where the request sits. Once the relevant organisations have approved the request, the status will change to Action Now. If required, you can filter to only view transfers or permits at a certain stage. By clicking View, we will now be able to approve or decline the transfer or permit request. Again, the process for transfers and permits is the same. Click Approve along the top left and select Done to return back to the main screen. In this transfer, we can see that there are more organisations required to approve after us. If you decline a transfer or permit, you will need to submit a reason as to why. Once all organisations involved in the transfer or permit have completed the relevant approvals, the player will be notified of the outcome and complete their registration if required. Once complete, they will be available for team selection. If the player completed a transfer, any active registrations at their previous club will be cancelled. One of the most important things to keep in mind is that the PlayCricket app will play a big part in cricket's digital ecosystem. It will be home for all fixtures, results, and historical data. If you haven't already, log into your Cricket ID via the PlayCricket app. To do this, simply click on the login on the home screen. Then follow the login prompts, entering the Cricket ID information you created during your first registration with PlayHQ. Once you have registered with PlayHQ, Cricket Australia recommends you claim all your participant records via the PlayCricket app. Step 1. Open up the PlayCricket app. Step 2. Select the More button from the bottom navigation menu. Step 3. Click on the account holder's name. Step 4. Go to the linked profile section and select Add Profile. Step 5. Enter your MyCricket ID or search via first and last name. Step 6. Click the Find Me button to start the search. Step 7. The search will return potential matches. Click on the profile to continue the linking process. Step 8. A pop-up window will appear. You will need to enter the password for the account you are trying to link. Step 9. You will need to read and agree to the terms and conditions. Tick the box to accept. Step 10. Click I agree to complete the linking process. Now all your historical data is in the one place. You can also follow this process for any dependent accounts you may be managing. For more information about this process, please go to the PlayCricket support site. Following a secondary club or association. To follow a secondary club or competition from the dashboard, click on Competitions from the navigation menu at the bottom of the dashboard and the Add Club button along the top menu. Search the club or association you want to follow. Simply click the Add symbol. Now you will get all the match information, fixtures, ladders straight into your app. Dashboard cards. On your home dashboard, you can add a player or club card, giving you quick access to a player's stats or results for a team. To add a player card, simply click the plus button in the dashboard card section. Click the plus sign for the player card. You will note that linked players will already appear. Simply click the plus sign on the players to create the card. If you want to follow someone else, choose the Follow More Players option and search the name of the player or a club. Click the plus sign next to the player name and click Next in the top right-hand corner. Choose what content you want to display by clicking the plus sign next to each field. Finalise by clicking Add. For team dashboard cards, simply click the plus button in the dashboard card section. Click the plus sign for the team card. You will see clubs that you already follow in the ribbon menu. Either select one of those that you already follow or click Add Club to search for a new club and team. Next, you will need to choose the grade you wish to follow. Once you have found the grade, click on the plus sign. Click the Add button in the top right-hand corner. These cards will now appear on your app dashboard. Please note that you can follow more than one team or player at a time. Just simply click the plus sign and follow the same process.